Today's video is going to discuss Chapter 1.5, Words, Equations, Tables, and Graphs. So the first thing we're going to work on is a rule. And this is probably very similar in and out box that you did in everyday math. So the idea is that if the rule is that I double a number and then add 3, to write this algebraically, my rule would be that y equals, I got to double the number, 2 times x plus 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number, substitute it in for x to figure out what y is. So in is going a 1, so 2 times 1 plus 3. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3, so y is 5. For this one, y equals 2 times, I'm substituting a 2 in now for x, plus 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. You can probably see this pattern, but this is going to be 2 times, I'm substituting in a 3, plus 3. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. And finally, I'm going to substitute in a 4 for x. 2 times 3 is 8 plus 3, 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Now one thing I want to make sure that you notice is that these 2's and these 3's never change. They're called constants, whereas this number, 1, 2, 3, 4, is what's being substituted in for the x, which is why we call it a variable. All right, now I'm going to have you practice one. Triple a number, then subtract 1. First write the rule, then fill in, this is the input, you fill in the output. Please pause the video at this time to practice this problem. So your rule should be y equals 3x minus 1. So this is going to be 3 times 1 minus 1. This is going to be, 3 times 2 minus 1. This is going to be 3 times 3 minus 1. And this is going to be 3 times 4 minus 1. All right, now let's take a story problem. We're going to talk about tables, graphs, and equations. In this one, an airplane is flying at a speed of 150 miles per hour. So the question is, what is the equation that would describe the distance compared to the time? And so the idea is that the distance of the airplane, which I'm going to call d, keeping in mind you could call it anything that you want, I'm going to call it d, equals the speed of the airplane times, and I'm going to call time h for hours. So the distance, which is actually going to be measured in miles, equals 150 times h. So if you put that into a table, after 1 hour, the plane will have flown or traveled 150 miles. So I take this 1, I substitute in for h, 150 times 1 is 150. I could take this 2, substitute it in for h, and I get 150 times 2, 150 times 3, and 150 times 4. Now you may notice the pattern here that's going up, and that's because you have the 150 right there. All right, so finally let's talk about what this might look like on a graph. So starting, now keep in mind I'm going time on the bottom, so these are hours. These are miles, or distance traveled. This is my x variable, and this is my y variable. And if you remember, I'm going to pull this table. Sorry to pull that out from underneath. Oh, that's close. This is my x, even though we're calling it h, this is the x variable, and this is the y variable. So as I graph it, you could think of these as ordered pairs, where it's 1, 150, 2 comma 300, 3 comma 450, 4 comma 600. Right, and so I'm going to come to 1, and I'm going to put a 150 would be here. 2 300 would be approximately there. 3 450 might be about here. And 4 600 would be up here. Now, this is part of the reason why using graph paper is helpful. One other thing I really want you to notice is that these are going up by 1, and these are going up by 100, which is okay as long as all of the x's are going up by the same increment and all of the y's are going up by the same interval. I can't just pick 150 and then 200 and then 450 and then 700. You can't just randomly select numbers. These would either have to go up by 1s, 10s, 15s, 100s, 200s, whatever it might be. In this particular problem, had I gone up by 1s, I don't have nearly enough whiteboard to create that graph. That's why I chose to go up by 100s. If you wanted, after 0 hours, the plane will have traveled 0 miles. You actually could put a dot here, and if you wanted to connect the dots, this could be my line. Now, hopefully your line would be straighter and possibly with a ruler. All right, before I let you go, keep in mind that both this and this tell the same story. It's just different ways of presenting the data. All right, thank you for watching the video. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.